Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello! This is Stacy reporting live over at the Skull Rock broadcast. I am joined by...
Hello, this is Megan. Welcome back to our Stranger Things podcast. We are excited to be here as always, and we're celebrating something today. What are we celebrating, Stacy?
We're celebrating... Let's see if I got this right. We're celebrating...
You're on summer break.
You know, I thought that was going to be it, but then I was like, I don't want to kind of sound like an asshole being like, it's my first day of summer break. So no, today is officially my first day of summer break. We are out for the summer. Cannot wait. I'm just so excited. Lots of Stranger Things stuff coming my way. I'm going to mention something that I'm going to be working on in the merch segment. Just feeling all the summer scoops feels, man, you know?
Yes, I'm so excited for you that you're on summer break. I took the next couple of days off, so
I
have a
love
little
that
break.
for you.
And
Yeah.
I mean, my vacation is coming up, so I'm good. And yeah, so I mean, summer of Skull Rock. It's our second summer of Skull Rock, which is very exciting. And we finally got our giveaway posted. So,
Because nothing is more delicious and refreshing than a nice six-pack.
right. So if you did not see it on Instagram, make sure you check out. We're giving away a Funko soda 6-pack, which is like 6 cans inside of this really cool Loungefly cooler with the little, and I love the Funko soda just figurines. I think they're just adorable.
I took my 4 off my desk from work because I was like, I don't want these getting stolen. And I was just looking at them and I'm like, they're so adorable.
Yeah.
I love them.
And you kind of have to open those because you have to like see them and know what they are, right? Like Funkos, you can leave them in the box and still look at them. But like, so I've never opened any of my Funkos, but I always open the Funko sodas. So
You don't
I don't
open up
know.
your Funko Pops?
No, I've never opened any of them. So
No comment.
Stacy's an out of the box collector.
It's
I'm
bad.
I guess in the box collector. Sometimes it's still in the box it was mailed here in events. So.
Were you one of those girls that, like, if you got, like, the special, like, holiday Barbie, you kept her in the box?
Yeah, I was never really a big Barbie person. I did have a few Barbies that did stay in the box, yes. But then the rest of the Barbies were like hand-me-down Barbies that were literally like in like a bin and were mostly like naked, and my brothers played with them too. So that was
Love
like
that.
the two extremes of like my Barbie life.
My Ken for my Barbie was actually an MC Hammer Ken. Yep, and he would go to work in the freezer. And I still wish I had him. Because, like, tell me you grew up in the 90s without telling me you grew up in the 90s. I had an MC Hammer Ken doll, guys.
That's
So,
awesome.
there you go. I'm telling you, they should do, like, a license with Stranger Things.
For
Because, like,
Barbie.
could you imagine how many Barbies they could make
I just want a Steve Harrington Ken doll. Like,
in all
That-
the outfits?
I mean, let's manifest that because
Yeah, you said that. You know, it's out in the open. Let's do that. Yeah.
we did talk to Cinco about like there was I think in like South America or Mexico or something, there was like a sort of Barbie-ish doll that they had some Stranger Things ones, but yeah,
Were you crazy about the movie?
I have never seen it. Yeah,
I'm gonna get murdered for this, but
right.
eh,
I never even saw it, so you're doing better than I am.
yeah, no. The only this is off topic. The only funny thing is like it shows like when Barbie's in her dream house, she like floats down to the ground because like as a kid, you're not gonna have her go down the fucking stairs. You're just gonna bring her down. So that was funny, and the fact that she walks on her toes because she's got the high heel feet. That was cute, but somebody once said the only problem, I saw it on Twitter, they said the only problem with the Barbie movie was Joe Keery didn't play one of the Kens. And
Yeah.
I'm like, ding, 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 circle gets the square.
Exactly. So that's funny that we brought up a movie just because it made me think of last summer. At the beginning of the summer, we did that Summer Vibes episode where we talked about like all of our favorite summer movies.
Could not have been more opposite. I'm like Jaws. You're like Babysitters Club.
Yeah, if you've never listened to that episode, or if you just need an episode to like re-listen to, highly
It's gold.
recommend.
Yeah.
I might have to re-listen to that one.
Which I was thinking not too long ago. I was like, oh, maybe we should do this for the Patreon. I was like, I should make, like, you should direct me. Maybe we still do. We'll see. How to make a USS Butterscotch. So yesterday, like, because let's be real, it was the last day of school. Teachers weren't doing anything. We put on movies. So I'm reading out loud how many ingredients go into a USS Butterscotch. I didn't realize there's like 13 ingredients.
Ooh, okay. So this is a good idea. I love that we're like planning this right now live on the episode.
Why not? Yeah.
So speaking of the giveaway, along with the giveaway that we posted like 2 days ago, yesterday we have a few like specials going on with our Patreon. So one, if you have not joined yet, you can get half off of your first month, which is pretty fun.
Look at that. Yeah.
That's for like the top 3 tiers. Then for the top 3 tiers also, if you're already a member or if you upgrade to those tiers or if you join, we're going to send you a personalized postcard. We're going to figure out if I have to write them all or if Stacey has some of them at her house. I
I'm
think
going to
she
try
does.
to pick up the slack a little bit. Yep. I am.
But that's going to be fun. And then also if you're on our Lovers Lake deep diver level, there's new merch and it's going to
Yes.
be a tote bag that you'll get after 3 months of being a member. So if you upgrade, join, or if you're already on that level, in 3 months you'll get a tote bag, which I like want one for myself, but
That
like
tote bag, man.
yeah, like we can't just like order one. Like you have to, it's like a Patreon makes the merch and everything. So it's kind of fun. But all of those run until July 4th.
Yes.
The giveaway also runs until July 4th.
Or as we like to
and-
call it, Battle of Starcourt Day.
Yes. So we're going to do a live that weekend. This is where I was going with this.
Okay. Yeah.
We could
know what you're
make
throwing down.
the USS Butterscotch on our live that weekend.
And you have to give me, I'm going to be, it's one of those instruction things. Like you can tell we're both teachers. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Because I used to, during the like, what do you call it, virtual learning, I ran out of things to do real quick, guys. So I remember I was like, I'm going to have you guys instruct me on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But like my bread was like really old and it was crumbling and the kids called me out on it. They were like, Miss Steele, your bread sucks. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But what's going to happen is Megan is going to give me instructions because I kind of looked. I have most of the ingredients, but
I
like,
kind of want to make it too, though. So
maybe I can give you instructions too. Maybe you guys can vote who made the better USS Butterscotch.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be Megan. But there's a lot to it because right away, like when I said like the 4th or 5th topping, my coworker went, Jesus, like how much goes into this? And I go, the fact that Steve Harrington made Erica Sinclair the USS Butterscotch, and she's like, no fudge, please, and just pushed it back.
see, I still
Now I'm
think she
picking
said
up what he
more fudge. We're also going to need to go back and see
You know
if
what,
she
guys?
said
Is
no
it more
fudge
fudge or
more
no
fudge?
fudge? Because he looked effing disgusted. So, I don't know. We'll see. But that's a great idea. I think that'd
Yeah.
be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, yeah, check out the
Something to look
giveaway.
forward to.
Also, for the giveaway, one of the things that you have to do is rate or review our show. So we do always forget to kind of say that. So if you're entering the giveaway, obviously that's one of the steps you have to take. But like, even if you just are not entering the giveaway, it always helps for you to rate or review our show on wherever you listen to it because, yeah, we
We would appreciate
it, but it also just helps the show grow on those platforms. So
Yeah.
very excited about that live now.
Yeah, right?
We'll give you more details next week because we have to figure out when during that weekend we're gonna do it.
I'm gonna try to wear like a chef's hat.
Oh, we have
Which-
something that we can wear too.
Oh my god, yes. No, it's just, we're not gonna give it away. But yep, we're doing this. We are
Yeah.
in it.
All right. Well, now that we have that planned, I think we can get into our episode today.
Well, are we ready to take a deep dive?
We're ready to take a deep dive, and I have to say, this is a really good episode of season 3, but it's hard to watch. a little bit at some points. I
Few
thought.
trigger warnings,
Yeah, so just remember that this episode does have like torture and some domestic violence. Like, so it was a lot of like heavy stuff, I feel like, packed into this episode. So
I forgot how much was in this, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I think everything gets better from here, right?
Yeah.
But like, it was just, I forgot that all of that was in one episode, which
Me
kind
too.
of makes sense that it was just like do all of the dark stuff in like one fell swoop.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was a lot.
it was definitely not the like happy summer vibes
No,
of the rest of
kinda
season
like
3.
needed a drink afterwards. How do you pronounce this episode?
E pluribus unum.
What she said.
So, do you know what it is?
No.
Okay, so let's talk about that first.
Look at her
'cause
doing her research.
I did, but I also like sort of knew, but like, you know, like I'm not a big like American history person, but it's a Latin phrase meaning out of many, one.
Ooh, oh shit.
Mm-hmm. And so it's the motto of the United States of America, actually. So it was suggested by a committee on July 4th, 1776, a very historic day when we
Yep.
signed the Declaration of Independence. But it's on the Great Seal, which is on like a bunch of our coins and currency. So I'm going to show you this. It's like the dollar bill. I know you can't see it if you're a listener, but like, I don't know, go get a dollar bill from your wallet. But it's like the eagle.
Yeah.
And then above the eagle, it has like this like banner, and
Mhm.
it says,
Is
"E
that what it
pluribus
says on it?
unum."
I
Yeah.
feel like I should have known that. I was that dork back in 8th grade when we went to the hall where they signed the Declaration of
Oh yeah,
Independence.
in
and
Philadelphia.
I made everybody get quiet in my group. My group hated me. And I went, guys, just imagine the history that went down in this room. And everyone's like, you fucking nerd. So I feel like I should have known that. But that's kind of like, it has so many double meanings.
It
If you think
does,
about it.
especially
so that's really good.
The very last scene, which
Yeah.
wanted me to like, made me want to like gouge my eyes out. So out of many, one. And I think it was so clever to use that as the title, because it was like, obviously the meaning is like very with the mind flayer, you know, but like also it's very like a patriotic type saying, which is like,
yeah.
we're gearing up for the 4th of July. We've got like the fun fair setup happening in this episode. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
In this episode, we open back up to the Scoops troop, and they're still down in the Russian bunker, and they're watching like that machine that's opening up the gate slowly, and they decide to go back down to the comp room. And I do love Erica going, Steve, where's your guard friend? And the guard that he knocked out previously when he won his first fight is missing, and at that exact moment, alarms go off.
Yeah. So also I just wanted to say that opening shot, it was very like picturesque, like because you're just like looking out the window, and I kind of forgot what I was looking at, because like that's how you leave the Scoops troop in the previous episode, seeing the gate for the first time.
Yeah.
But it was like just you're looking at the gate and all of the colors like through the window of like the lab area, and it was just very pretty, I thought.
It was, for something so horrific.
Yeah.
Very pretty visually. But when the alarms go off right away, they're like, oh my God, a bunch of Russian guards come and chase them into another room. And Steve and Robin are like holding back the door with their bodies. And they kind of like give Erica and Dustin enough time to escape through one of the air ducts. And I do like love Dustin going like, I won't forget about you. And
Yeah.
them screaming, go. And literally like not a second later, the guards come through. And I don't think enough people like really give Robin and Steve like enough credit. Could you imagine had the kids gotten caught too? Not to get too dark and bleak,
Right.
but that was some serious shit. And they basically like gave up their, you know, like what could have been their lives to give them a chance to escape. And that, like the fact that Robin joined Steve to help him hold the door back and stuff, and it gave the kids a chance to escape, and immediately guns are pointed at them. So fuck.
I can't hear the phrase "hold the door" without thinking of Game of Thrones.
That destroyed me. Don't even do it right away. I went, well, that's just great. Like,
So much emotional damage.
I hate it so much.
So anyway, Steve and Robin were holding the door for the kids. I agree that was a very like powerful thing for them to like let the kids get away. But then we cut back to the hospital, and when we left the hospital in the last episode, the kids didn't really realize there was anything going on, but then the lights start to flicker, so they're clued in now down in the lobby that something's happening.
Yeah,
and,
Will's like, oh, my neck feels weird.
Correct. And he actually says he's here. So when he says he's here, you like cut to the monster, which is like how we ended the last episode, that awful Tom and Chuck monster.
Tom and Chuck, me. Who the fuck is Chuck?
So I love Nancy just being like, shit.
Yeah, like
And,
that's
like,
very realistic.
Turning to run, and Jonathan is like screaming for her to run, and he's trying to distract the monster. But then down in the lobby, I also loved the kids walking away, and that woman, the receptionist, is like 2 at a time, as like there's like chaos going on in the hospital. Like,
so basically Nancy runs into her room because she's blocked off, she can't escape, and lo and behold, this thing is like the T-1000 from Terminator 2. It liquefies and it goes through the little like vent at the bottom of the door, and it like I think it's
I forgot about that reference. I haven't seen the first movie, but I have seen Terminator 2.
Wow.
And I remember that.
Look at you. I'm actually kind of impressed. So it like, reforms, and it always makes me think of this really iconic shot in Alien 3 when the alien is like hissing in Sigourney Weaver's face, and that's what it does. It opens up its mouth and it like roars, and you see drool coming from its fangs and stuff. And Nancy looks like she's about to buy the farm.
Yeah. So Jonathan was trying to like come in, but she locked the door, so he couldn't get in either.
Which throw your weight against it, John.
Yeah, the kids were trying the elevator, but it wasn't coming, so they're like, "Let's go up the stairs."
I would have been like, you know what, guys, I'll catch you later.
Luckily, they get there right in time because the monster is like you said, like on top of Nancy, basically. It's knocked her to the ground. Jonathan is like using an oxygen tank to try to bust through the door, but then we see Elle bust through the door, and she slams that monster to each side of the room, the ceiling,
you
the
love
floor.
Max's expression?
Yeah, and then she throws it out the window.
Yeah, which I'm sorry. First of all, where is everybody in this hospital? Everyone's out on a cigarette break, but when it like basically like melts into the sewer, it leaves behind what looks like a holiday, like a bone or a holiday roast. It's so gross looking.
It was disgusting.
Which I was gagged. So there was this like, oh, according to your birth month, I'll have to send you a picture of it. According to your birth month, what character or object are you from Jaws? But everything was a character besides August. And August was the holiday roast that they used to try to trap the shark. Everybody else
so
was a character.
Accurate for you, though.
And it's just a holiday roast on a fucking dock, an uncooked roast. And I was so offended. I was like, what the fuck? So that made me think of the holiday roast, but I do think it's a bone. And it just like goes into the sewer, which I'm like, could you imagine like a paramedic like bringing in the ambulance at that exact moment? Like,
yeah, it joins up with the bigger monster that's there with Billy and Heather, and they're kind of like in their trance, just standing there. And I feel like this gets repeated like multiple times in this episode, but he's like, it's time.
It's time. Yeah. Okay. I kind of like, I would have gotten the ick from that. I would have, okay.
And then we have the credits. Did you notice, I don't know if they do this on all of the episodes, and I just for some reason hyperfixated on it this time, but they zoom in on the chapter title, and then it turns from like red to like blue, and then the blue becomes the blue of the sky above the fun fair.
I didn't pay attention to that. Look at you.
I don't know why.
I know they
like,
zoom into all of them because I always
Yeah.
like the theme, the beat. It almost sounds like a pulse. It's like boom, 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 and you go in. So I didn't notice that. That's
but it was
cool.
like it turned from red to blue, and then I was like, oh, that's pretty. And then I realized that the blue became like the blue of the sky. So
look at
it's a
that.
little fun little detail.
Which we see, it's the next day, and
Yeah.
the fun fair is getting set up. Which holy fucking shit, Mayor Klein rips that food vendor,
I
that
know,
hot dog
that
vendor,
poor hot dog guy.
a new asshole. Like, oh my god, like I would have to go home and drink. Like he's
Well,
like,
he's a little stressed,
yeah,
Stacey.
a little bit,
He's
but you
a
know
little
what?
stressed.
That poor hot dog guy, like right away, like he rips him a new asshole, and I'm like, you know what, Klein, you need to relax. But he sees the Russian,
Yeah.
and
Well,
what
and
happens?
He lifts. I like how he lifts up his sunglasses, and you can see that he's still like all beat up from Hopper.
Yeah,
But also, that was a pretty cool song that was playing. I think it was called "Stand Up and Meet Your Brother." I don't know the band, but I just thought it was a fun song that was playing in that scene. But he sees Grigori, and then apparently they decide to go inside this like spaceship spinny ride thing.
did you ever go on any ride like that?
Yeah, so that one was way fancier than the ones
Yeah.
that I've been on, but I've been on that. It's like that centrifugal force or whatever.
Yeah, we had one called the Turkish Twist, and the floor drops out, and I'm like, this is why I probably can't do long division. I went on that way too many times.
I loved it, but like I feel like
course
the
you
one
would.
I'm remembering in my mind was just like basically like a yellow cage. Like it just looked like a cage. It wasn't fancy like that spaceship type thing.
Holy
but
shit.
like you just spun really fast and you get like pressed up against the walls. I mean, it comes back later in the season, right? They go on this
Yes,
ride
it
again.
does.
Yeah. So
Just said, holy smokes, that's me.
but I love that they're fighting in there and
I have a temper problem.
yeah, I'm in
going to
therapy.
therapy.
But he basically, they're like, Grigori's giving Klein a hard time because he wants him to find Hopper. He says that it's his fault, that Hopper's his problem. Klein says that Hopper's just a moron, that he's driving around in a yellow convertible, that they're gonna find him. But then he decides to like say, bring some backup next time because
He gets
like,
cocky.
yeah, like Klein, like, did you not learn your lesson?
Which,
like,
dude, like,
but
you,
so I
you've been
mean,
getting the shit kicked out of you all season. Maybe
right?
take a moment of pause.
I kind of like understood where the Russian was coming from when
Yeah.
he kicked his shit out of him for this, but
Starts the ride up.
the ride turns on, so they start spinning. Yeah, and so he basically says he has a day to find him. So
Which
Yeah.
we do find out that Hopper is at Murray's, and he comes in and he has brought some stuff that he must have picked up. Which, you know-
I got it. All right, are you ready?
Yeah, what did he get?
2 Whoppers, a large fry, extra ketchup, a pack of Marlboro Reds, and an extra large Slurpee.
I love when he goes, 7-Eleven and the Burger King are nowhere near each other. And just Murray
Never
goes,
said they
never said they
were."
were. That's me. Like, Hopper's facial expressions is Stacy at the end of the school year. Just how big his eyes get.
Yeah.
And he's had it. Because imagine, you're probably running on no sleep. You're a little stressed. You've been hunted. Your car blew up. It's been a little bit much. So this is kind of like what he's going to like give Alexei to talk to Murray and basically spill the beans about, you know, what's going on. And Alexei refuses to talk because as soon as he takes a sip of his Slurpee, he very dramatically spits it out. And he's like, it's strawberry, it's not cherry. And says the iconic line,
No cherry, no deal. But I did love also Joyce being like, Hop, he did ask for cherry.
cherry. And you just, right away, he's like, it all tastes the same. Like, I'm
He's
right
like,
away, like,
they didn't have cherry.
like, I just love, like, right away, he loses his mind as
Yeah.
soon as he finds out Alexei isn't doing it. And I love when he grabs him, like, yet again, a lot of yelling in this episode.
I
And I
think
love-
this was my favorite part of the episode, though. Like,
It was, like, because this was, like, the one, like, lighthearted part, even though,
Yes.
like, you know, Alexei's borderline almost about to get beat up. Right. I love that he's like, I'm not going to hurt him. And he basically tosses him out of Murray's and he throws the Toddfather keys. And the way
But that
he
little
was like,
move that he kept doing with the keys, like, you gotta watch it. Like, he like hits it and it like
it flips
goes
back
up.
into his hand.
I'm like, I need to figure out how to do this. It was
I
very
know.
cool.
We'll do that on the
He
live
did it,
too.
yeah, he did it twice, and I was like, so fixated
You're
on
like,
it.
that's charming. But I love him going, I have dealt with assholes like this my entire life. And they hear, because Joyce starts getting nervous, she's like, he started the car up. And you can tell Hopper's trying to call his bluff and he's trying to stay calm, blocking the door. And he's like, why do you think he didn't run from us yesterday? Like, he's running scared. They're going to think that he talked.
Yeah.
We're all he has right now.
Yeah, he's like, if I give him everything he wants, he's just gonna ask for more and more and more. Like, he's gonna come running back with a sense of humility, and he just waits him out. And I love, as they're having this conversation, you also see Alexei outside, and he's like, at first he's all excited, he's unlocking the handcuffs, he's getting in the car, he's starting to drive away, and then Joyce freaks out and she like runs out into the driveway. So then they all three stand there and he's just sitting at the end of the driveway, and then he starts putting the car in reverse. Like,
And doesn't he say, like, as he comes back, he, like, gives Hop the keys. He says something like strawberry works too or something.
he says that he likes strawberry too. And Hopper
when
does his
Hopper
little
does
key thing again.
Just the charming little key thing.
And he
Megan
looks
was like,
so smug. Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said, the facial expressions and just how animated he is in this entire like scene. And just the way he played the four of them. Like, I feel like they are such a good like group, and the way they all play
Yeah.
off of each other is just very like funny. But like, yeah, it's one of my favorite parts about season 4, and I love this. It was my favorite part about this episode.
absolutely.
Okay, so we go back to the Russian base, and the soldiers are marching through the hall, and of course I was like, oh, are we on the Death Star? Because that's exactly what it was like.
Yep.
But underneath the like hallway, Dustin and Erica are in the air vents because that's how they've like escaped. And basically you come in like the end of their conversation, and you can tell that Dustin has been filling Erica in on all of the lore, basically all of the upside down shit that
From
happened.
season 1 onward.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Erica has no problem believing any of this, except for the part that her brother Lucas was involved, because he's not
You
cool
mean to
enough
tell
for
me
all
you
that.
believe all of that except for your brother being involved? That's
Yeah.
correct.
But they're just sweaty. And like, could you tell they were like pouring sweat? Like, I couldn't tell if that was just like, maybe it was like hot where they were filming, or if it was supposed to like represent that they had been in there for a while.
I think so, because, like, it's supposed to probably be both. You know, like, they definitely wouldn't have them sweating like that if it was by accident. But you're in air vents, and they're basically, he's, like, kind of fucking with the wires to stop the fans so they can actually, like, pry open the doors. And you can tell, like, every few feet,
There's
a
fans. Yeah.
fan, so he has to do it. And Erica, of course, is like, it's taking an awful while for you to disconnect these. Like, and that's when kind of Dustin puts 2 and 2 together about something.
Yeah, because she basically like says like, oh, if you continue at this rate, and she does a whole bunch of math to tell how long it would take them to get out of there if he continues at that rate. And he's like, did you just do that in your head? And she's
That's
like,
a pretty simple equation.
pretty simple equation. And he's like, you're a nerd. Like, you're apparently a math wizard. Like,
Calls her
you're a
out.
political junkie, and you like My Little Pony, and explains that like basically My Little Pony is like fantasy, which is nerd shit. So he kind of calls her out that she's a nerd. And
After you, nerd.
yeah,
Like,
that was
damn.
very cute, I thought. They were a highlight of this episode too.
I love their chemistry together. Like, they just
Yeah.
have such a great rapport and just back and forth. But they have, especially like from this point onward, their chemistry and like just the looks that Erica gives him and stuff. It's just they work very well together. They play off each other very well. So that was kind of cool. But
Yeah.
the next
So
scene.
then the rest of this episode with Steve and Robin is heavy. Because basically Steve is getting beat up.
Horribly.
Russians-
He's getting the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, are asking him who he works for. He's continuing to say Scoops Ahoy because that's the truth.
Yep.
Like, he basically tells them that he was like looking for a delivery at the loading dock, that the room turned into an elevator, and that he ended up in this wonderful facility. And he kind of like I feel like they try to make it humorous because
But
like,
it's so hard because, first of all, A+ to the makeup artist.
yes.
Because he is literally covered in blood, from
Yeah.
him getting punched so much.
and it's so
He's got this-
realistic looking.
It is. They did such a great job with like how swollen his face gets. Basically, an entire eye turns into a black eye and is swollen shut. And he's literally dripping blood from his nose and mouth. And they keep punching him in the chest and stomach. And he's got his hands tied behind his back and stuff. And like you said, they try to make it a little humorous with him, offering them gelato
Yeah.
and, just tries to like, keep talking about Scoops Ahoy, like, look at my outfit.
He's like, you
am
gotta
I dressed-
try the USS Butterscotch. It's
It's
out of this world.
world.
And
Oh, my
yeah, but
God.
like also A+ acting for Joe
Mhm.
Keery in this episode because it's like
He actually looks terrified.
he looks terrified, but he does like such a good job with like that line, but with like being so manic and like
Mhm.
so scared, but also like laughing, and it's like it's
very
really
realistic because
hard to
somebody
watch.
probably would act like that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
If you think about it, like his character is probably 19 maybe,
Yeah.
and 18, 19, and literally he like probably is on the verge of getting shot in the head.
Yeah, he
And
thinks he's gonna
he's-
die.
He
Like,
thinks he's gonna die, and just like his winces and stuff. And they never really address
no.
the torture that Steven and Robin suffered, especially Steve. They
Yeah.
never address it, which I'm like, that's terrifying. And just the fact that like they did this, they prevented that from happening to Dustin and Erica, speaks volumes on what kind of characters they are.
Yeah, I have a couple like reels that I've made on Instagram that have gotten kind of like a lot of comments and stuff like about Steve's trauma not being addressed, and it's
Yeah.
shocking to me how many people, I guess if they've just watched the episode or the show maybe once, like it almost, because they use so much humor in these scenes, like
Mm-hmm.
people are like,
Glaze
well,
over it.
What trauma? Like, that was just funny. They were high out of their minds. Like, they don't remember it. And I'm like, this is such a problematic take on this. Like, these
Yep.
two teenagers literally were tortured to the point that they thought that they were going to die.
Mhm.
Like, Robin thought that Steve was dead when they threw them in the room
That's
together.
scary. Yeah.
Like, it's a lot. And the fact that, like, they just seem like they're okay after that in season 4.
yeah.
That's one of the main things I would like to see in season 5 is
They
the two of
address it.
them being like kind of, processing some of this trauma and not just continuing to be this like buddy comedy, like
Exactly.
comedic relief.
And I feel
because
like that might have
they
been a
could
reason
Yeah, they could do
why
a good
they
job with
became
this.
such great friends, because
Mm-hmm.
they trauma bonded,
Yeah.
because they end up punching him out, and he gets knocked out, and they drag him because he's knocked out,
Yeah.
and they bring him to a room and they tie him to a chair, and just then they bring in Robin, which, we won't even touch upon that. As far as we know, she wasn't beaten up or anything happened to her, but think you're a young girl down in a base with a bunch of men. Scary. And
Yeah.
she thinks literally Steve is dead because
Yeah.
they tie them both back to back to two chairs. And she keeps like, Steve, are you all right? She's so scared that they actually killed him.
Right.
And that's a tough scene, man.
Yeah, because like I love her like saying like don't touch him. Like she's being
Mhm.
like very like concerned about
Protective.
him, very protective of him. She spits in their face, which
And
is
they
like
call her a suka.
which is like a little bitch. Yeah. And says you're gonna regret that. Like it's another this
It's intense.
it's intense. Yeah.
Could give those two an Emmy, man.
I
But
know.
we then go to Hopper's cabin, and 11 is using her powers to try to find Billy or the Flayed. And I do love that they have like a picture of Billy's, I would assume his yearbook photo, his senior portrait. I really don't know. It's a glamour shot, I guess. And then a photo of like Miss Driscoll for like the church bingo or something. And she's in the void, but you see like she's got a lot of tissues and she's, dabbing her nose because she's been in there for a while. And outside in the living room, Mike's a little anxious and he's kind of like almost starts an argument with Max, being like, what if it gives her brain damage? And of course, Lucas is like, holy shit, is that possible? And Max is almost like, you're doubting her abilities. She knows her limitations. You need to trust her. And they start like almost arguing back and forth over her well-being. And while that's going on, Nancy is making phone calls.
Yeah, so Nancy's trying more local businesses. And basically she's confused because like suddenly nobody seems to be having any issues. Like where like up until then they were all saying that things were like missing and all of
Chemicals,
that. So
rats,
it's like
yep.
Will is kind of saying like, well, I guess maybe they they got what they needed sort of thing. Like, but Mike and Max bring their argument out into the kitchen and like kind of like want Nancy's opinion on it. And then I love how Mike basically like calls them out for spying again and tells Lucas that I guess girlfriends don't lie, they spy.
I love it. What if I was taking a massive shit? Just Max is so disgusted. She's like, ew, gross, Whew.
But Mike goes on that like rant about Elle, and this is like one of the like this is the only time that he says this, but he basically says, I love her and I can't lose her again. And everyone gets super quiet. Lucas's smirk is like is like the best part of that scene.
He lives for the drama this entire season, and I am there for it.
But then Elle comes out of the room
having absolutely no fucking clue.
Don't you find out later that she did hear him say that? Because then she like calls him out on how he's like never said it again in his letters. Am I making that up?
No, she said that's in season 4 when she's like,
I know,
from Mike. But he says it. He loves her at the end of this season, right?
I don't know. We'll have to.
We'll have to
see when we get there.
We'll have to dive a little deeper, guys.
Yeah, but she says, "I found him," and Nancy asks, "Found who?" So we cut to that yellow convertible again.
We go back to Murray's, and Alexi's basically talking about the machine and how they call it like the key because it's opening up the door, which is the gate. And they're kind of explaining it and how the Russians like located and built Starcourt where they did to basically steal electricity from the transformers in Hawkins in order to open it. And I do like how they kind of break it down and they use like the straw and the Burger King like trash to kind of represent that like they've tried to do this before, but the gate's never been opened. So they can't get through. And then with the straw, they show the wrapper and they're like, but the gate's been opened before in Hawkins. And that's why they came back here. And just the look of like anxiety on Hopper's face when they're explaining this, like he actually looks sick to his stomach when they're breaking it down.
He and Joyce are just kind of like smoking and they just get like more and more like they kind of make the connection that this basically has to do kind of like when Steve and Dustin made the connection, but like this has to do with this upside down stuff. And I also liked when Murray was translating and he couldn't quite understand what Alexi was saying. He's like, well, if you would like to file a complaint, you can file it right up my ass.
And Rotary see Joyce like had to put her hands up in defense, like, okay, all right. So you can tell things are a little tense and they're a little sleep deprived and crabby.
Yeah. Joyce immediately goes to try to call the kids and Hopper goes to look for some alcohol. And Alexi just wants to watch Looney Tunes.
He just wants to watch Woody the Woodpecker. He's fine, and literally I love that him and Murray like do a shot together, which when in doubt, do a shot. Yeah. And it's just really
what was he looking for?
Whiskey?
Bourbon? Whiskey? They don't have any whiskey. Only vodka.
Vodka, which that will rock your world, especially early and you haven't slept well, girl. But I really do like how they explain like everything. And Hopper then tries because Joyce is like trying to, call and check in on the kids. And of course, Karen's like, I think they're at the movies, And Hopper then tries to like be serious in a moment, being like, I will protect you. And
Well, yeah, he's like basically being like I can get you there. Like cuz he's saying if they turned it on, there must be a way to turn it off. And Alexi's like I can't go there because I'm like the translation
Oh, yeah, I'm
originally is naked. But then Murray corrects
exposed.
like compromised.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, like he's like I'll get you there, and Alexi just laughs in his face. And
Like a
says
fat
he's-
Rambo. I'd be gagged.
But even thin Rambo wouldn't be able to get there because it's like heavily guarded, like it's very impossible to break in.
This was one of my favorite, like,
Like transitions.
it's so
Yes.
good because then at that exact moment you see Dustin like pop out of one of the vents. So of course a freaking 13-year-old was able to get in with a bunch
Yeah.
of teenagers that scoop
These
ice cream.
children were able to break in, even though it's impossible to break in.
And they end up in this room where all the like canisters, that green liquid goo, are kind of like stored. And, Dustin right away sees one of the loading cars and he's trying to like figure out how to get it, start
Find the keys.
Gotta find a key. And you see Erica kind of like look over and she sees this huge ass cage. And she's like,
Yeah.
how big was that Demogorgon again? And he's like, what? How big does he say that it is?
9
Like,
feet, I think.
that's pretty fucking tall. And
Yeah.
then I love that Erica, so smart, gets a cattle prod, which is electricity, and literally right away, what the hell are you doing? What the hell is that?
Because
A
she's just
weapon.
swinging it around.
Yeah.
A deadly weapon.
A deadly weapon, which I'm like, you know what? That actually will come in handy in a little bit.
Yeah. So then we cut back to our favorite little duo here. Robin's calling for help, and then Steve finally wakes up and he's like, would you stop yelling? And Robin's just like happy that he's alive.
Yeah, she's like, they're
Um,
gonna get you a doctor.
Yeah. And he's like, was this his place of work? Just love the vibe.
I love the vibe. I do love that. Them just tied together. And I know they've talked about it a lot, especially at Upside Down Con, how they were tied together for days. And they're like, at first you think that's going to be really fun. And then they're like, but no, really, you're tied to that person for days. So pretty cool. But I do love that right away she is like, hey, did you see those pair of scissors? And they're like, yeah, what morons. They left scissors. And I love when she goes, to your left, and he looks to his right. She goes, no, your other left. He looks back. Just very like, even though poor Steve is not looking good, they do try to keep it a little light. And she's like, I'm thinking we can kind of almost like hop, like shimmy over to get to the scissors and cut our, ties. So they do it at first and they're like, holy shit, it worked. They're working together. 1, 2, 3. They do it again. And unfortunately, they lose their balance and they fucking fall.
They fall over, and he thinks that she's crying, but apparently she's just like so out of it that she's just cracking up laughing. And they end up having this like heart to heart kind of,
which is one of my favorite scenes. And also
Yeah.
it's set to, and I know I've mentioned this before, in the first episode, they go to see George A. Romero's Day of the Dead, which is Night of the Living Dead Part 3. And one of my favorite things about that movie is the score by John Harrison. There is a character that's from like the Caribbean, so it's got very like kind of like that kind of vibe of music, and it's this beautiful synthesizer score. And they play it, and the track is called Sarah Breaks Down. I do recommend it, Megan. It's very, very pretty. And it plays very softly as they kind of almost have this heart-to-heart tied together. And it just like a beautiful callback to the first episode, but it is such a beautiful, beautiful score that I'm so glad got to see the light of day again. And I'm so happy that they were able to use it, because in the actual movie, it plays when this very strong female character shows like a moment of weakness and her finally breaking down. And Robin basically is just like at first talking about like, this is too trippy, I'm gonna die with Steve the Hare Harrington. And that's when she kind of like admits, like, even though she acts like she's above it, that she doesn't care about being one of the cool kids, everybody actually always does want to belong.
Yeah.
And she brings up the fact that they actually had a class together, Mrs. Click's class last year, and she sat behind him, every day. and he'd always come in late with his breakfast bagel, his sandwiches. And she was like, you don't even remember me, do you? And you can just, the guilt on Joe's face, Steve's face, it's heart-wrenching, you know? Because it's almost like, it sounds almost like her being like, I was obsessed with you, she says.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't take my eyes
she
off
was
you.
obsessed with him. And I guess a first-time viewer would kind of think obsessed in maybe like a romantic way.
Yeah.
But we know kind of like on rewatching that it was like just obsessed with like being cool. And then
The
we find out in
attention.
another episode like the kind of connection of what made her a little bit more obsessed with him. But
Yeah.
he joked that maybe that he wishes that he would have known her in that class because maybe she could have helped him pass the class and he would have been able to go to college. So that was kind of like, you do see like at the beginning of season 2, like with him like struggling to write that essay, like he wasn't always like the strongest academically. He kind of got by with like sports and stuff like that.
And the fact
but
that he even says the whole like all that bullshit, which Nancy's words, which you can tell
Yeah.
kind of sting. And he's like, instead of like being obsessed with being prom king or, you know, impressing Tommy H., which we haven't heard from, who we assume went off to college, you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here. And she's like, yeah, and I'd be, you know, slinging ice cream with some other schmuck. And this always rips my heart out. This is why Duffer Brothers, these two better not be harmed next season.
right.
Them just going, you know, but it was nice. It was fun being your schmuck, you know, and
Yeah.
basically
while it
it was fun
lasted.
while it lasted. And there's so many goddamn memes of them being like, what if they do a mirrored scene of these two bleeding out saying it was fun while we lasted? I like just almost choked up saying that. It
Yeah.
cannot happen
No.
because these two are
on fucking Christmas.
dude. Fuck. It just, they cannot touch a hair on their heads. They are my most favorite characters. And like you said, first time watch, you're like, oh, she liked him. And just
Yeah.
her being like, I feel like my life's just been one big error, you know, and kind of just confessing that, yeah, she does kind of wish she was one of the cool kids, and him telling her it's not what it's all cracked up to be. But then they both kind of like make peace because you kind of think that they know they're going to die.
They think that they're gonna die.
And they're just like,
100%.
they have this beautiful bonding moment, and what makes it so beautiful is that score.
Yeah, yeah. So the Russians come back in and kind of sit them back up again. And then they end up
Where are you
like
two
showing this
going?
like this like
Jesus,
blue
that Russian
liquid.
impression. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
What was
great.
that? Where
It was
you going?
your best work ever.
Jesus.
But that needle that they stick in his neck
That-
is like
That scene always gets me. And
hard
of course,
to watch.
like, I know how it works. It's retractable, like movie magic, you know? Like, it retracts within itself. But Joe Keery's acting, because right away they're like, what is that? And we know it's truth serum, which apparently gets you higher than the fucking sky. But the fact that they inject it right in his artery and the scream that he lets out, it's
Yeah.
haunting, and it
and
echoes.
they say that like this is to help you talk or whatever. But also just to bring up like slight spoilers for Fargo, but like the fact that he had to again go through something super similar, like torture wise, being tied to a chair. Like, does this man just have a face that just makes you want to like beat him up?
It's
like,
just such a puppy dog face that you're just like, I want to kick the shit out of him. Because, like, the same thing. It's so funny you say that. I just rewatched Fargo. When it cuts to the outside of the cabin, you hear his scream. Like, it's so realistic that something terrible is happening.
yeah.
So, Joe Keery, you got robbed at the Emmys.
So we cut to this static on the TV, and you know that Elle had found someone. That's where we left off with her.
Mhm.
But she's basically has found Billy, and she's looking at him again.
Just sitting in his room.
And he's just sitting in his room. And they're just all kind of talking about like that they know that this must
be a trap.
must be a trap. Like he wants her to come find him there. He wants them to come find him there. And I mean, we find out later that like all the Flayed have kind of gone back to their families and stuff, which is so
Yeah.
interesting. But she sees the rainbow on the box of Lucky Charms.
And I like that it makes her think of her mom and what she did by accessing her memories.
Yes, where she was able to go inside her mom's mind. Which Lucky Charms are my second favorite cereal. I told you earlier today that Cinnamon Toast Crunch is my favorite because you found that Fantastic Four box.
I got to tell you right away, I went, like, part of me was like, it doesn't have Joseph Quinn on it, but I really like that cereal. And I haven't had that cereal in forever. So I, like, slowly took it off the shelf.
Yeah.
Looked for the Lucky Charms, which, let's see, can you name all the Lucky Charms?
Heart, stars, and rainbows, clovers and blue moons, pots of gold and rainbows, and a red balloon.
Guys, why did I even doubt her? Why?
I told you it was my second favorite cereal. Come
I
on.
saw that you can actually buy just the marshmallows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel that'd be a little sugar overload, but I used to love Lucky Charms as a kid as well. You know what? If I find a box of those, I'm definitely getting one for you, one for me. But I love that this is the scene that always chokes me up when she's like, okay, I have a plan. I'm going to access Billy's memories. And
Right.
Mike is so sincere in this scene because he like kneels down when she's getting ready to do it. He's really concerned. And he's like, listen, Al, like, it was your mother that you did this with before. She wasn't going to hurt you because it was your mom. You know, Billy, you know, he's sick, you know.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know if it's the mule. I'm getting like choked up right now.
I know.
But her looking at him, because she's gone through so much abuse herself. And she goes, and this is just such powerful lines, her going, he can't hurt me. Not in there. And she's like, you need to trust me.
Right. And then they
Tearing
kind of
up
like
right now.
focus on Max, and Max is like, don't look at me,
Yep.
basically. But
Like,
like,
she's making her
she's the one
decision.
who's been telling Mike that like we need to let Elle set her own boundaries. So she goes
This
into
was
the void.
Beautifully filmed.
Yes. She approaches Billy sitting
Who's
on
like
his bed.
sitting on his bed, and she's like, Billy, I want, like, what is it? I want to help
I
you.
want to see. I want to see. And she takes his hand, and then he ends up grabbing onto her hand,
Mhm.
and it's like she's falling backwards, but she
in
sees
slow motion.
flashes of like what happened more recently with like the monster, Billy crashing his car.
And that's where, if you pause it, guys, you will see him drinking chlorine in the chemical closet. It's
Interesting.
literally less
like
than
just
2
a
seconds.
flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like this whole, like, it reminds me kind of Inception a little bit, of her falling backwards into the water. And she wakes up and she's basically on a beach.
Yeah. And she's talking to the kids still, and she's like, I'm on a beach, and Lucas is like, there's no beaches in
Last time I
Hawkins.
checked, yeah.
Yeah. And she sees Billy's mom first, and she's like, there's a woman, she's beautiful. And then she sees the little boy run towards her, and it ends up being Billy.
And you hear Max, it's almost like Max right away knows, and she kind of looks a little like guilty almost, and she goes, it's a memory, it's California, it's a memory.
Yeah. And then they're looking for the source, is what they keep calling it, like where everything is kind of like happening. And she says, I think I see it. I think I see the source. And she walks towards what looks like this huge storm on the beach.
The next scene kills me because basically Hopper's like, I need to phone Owens. We
Yeah.
need to get the like National Guard. We need to get the reinforcements to head down to Starcourt. And I love that like Murray's like, you need to do it under a certain amount of time, like less than like, you know, a minute. And Hopper's like, yeah. And I love that he calls up and it says that it's like a public library, but really it's the government. And they're like, what's your password? And Hopper's like me. He's like, hang on a second. You just see Murray go, you wrote it down and kept it in your wallet. He looks so disturbed and bothered by this. And he's like, antique chariot. And he basically is like, yep, you know, we need their reinforcements. You know, they're at Starcourt. He'll know what I mean. Like, he's basically saying, like, get Owen to rally the troops to come down to help.
Right.
And Joyce isn't too happy.
No, she's like, that's not enough. Like,
yeah, you didn't sound urgent enough.
right. You you need to tell them like it is. Our kids are in danger. Like, they need to know the urgency of this situation. So she calls back. And she's like, this is Antique Chariot's partner, Wheelbarrow.
Wheelbarrow. One of my
Oh.
favorite lines the whole season.
And she chews him out. And it's so funny that the guy's like, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Don't you dare. Like right away, you gotta get off your ass. And like almost like that's the kind of mom you want, like advocating for her child. And I love
Exactly.
that right away Hopper's like, it's been exactly 1 minute. And she's like, 1 minute to walk.
Right. So she's like waking Alexia up off the couch. She's like, we need to get out of here. And then that's the last you see of them this episode, I think.
They provided, thankfully, in such a heavy episode, the right amount of humor, which was
Yeah.
much needed. But we then go to Steve and Robin, and they're kind of like left alone. And right away, he's like, "Are you feeling anything?" And she's like, "No, I feel normal. I feel fine."
And then they kind of start to feel good.
They start,
They're like,
yeah,
I kind of
feel
start to feel good.
good. Which, hi, Joe Keery and Maya Hawke, top fucking tier. I'm glad, even though they suffered horrible horrors, that they were able to get a little high, because they start giggling and they're like, they messed up the drugs. What morons. They start yelling that they're morons. And in comes the colonel from the Russians and one of the doctors. And they're like, you're ready to talk. And I love that, like, they start taking out, like, all the, like, torture, like, things like the bone saw. And just the look on their faces.
Well, and they start to pull off one of Steve's fingernails.
That
because,
gave me the ick. No.
yeah, he's like, because he's still saying that he works for Scoops.
Who do you work for? Scoops. Scoops Ahoy. And I just love that right away. He's like, what does he say? Like, first you're like, have you told anybody about this? And he's like, Dustin. She's like, Steve. Yeah, Dustin Henderson. Like, yeah, your curly-headed friend. Yeah, curly, like a fro.
Because when they start pulling off Steve's fingernail, Robin's like,
There was a code.
There was a code. So she's like, explains to them that they found the code, that they cracked the code in
I love
like,
that
a
she taunts
day.
them.
Yeah.
You were broadcasting this stupid spy shit, and 2 teenagers that scoop ice cream figured it out in a day.
Right. And
She has some balls. I love it.
She's like, oh, Dustin's going to call Hopper. Hopper's going to call the U.S. Cavalry. And
you
you're going to
bunch
be
of
two
assholes.
pieces of toast.
Kills me.
And then the alarms start going off. And I loved Steve's face
Just the
here.
look.
Because he's just like shrugs and smirks like, I told you so.
Told you. Yeah.
But we cut out to the hallway, and there's this like, I kind of didn't remember this, but like the green goo has like exploded and there's like a hole in the ground. Like, so I guess that was the distraction that
Yep.
Dustin and Erica had kind of caused so
Yeah.
that they could like get them out. And the fact that they rescued them, that is like one of my favorite parts about the
'Cause
Scoops
most
troop.
likely, if they hadn't have done that, they would have gotten killed.
Yeah.
So I just love
absolutely.
that out of nowhere. Like, of course, after, Steve's like, Dustin Henderson. Surprised he didn't give his address. But, just, of course, the colonel going, Dustin Henderson. He comes charging in because all the guards went to go look at, like, the acid like green goo.
Yeah.
And he's got the cattle prod. And he just shucks
He
the
takes
shit.
out that doctor. Yeah.
So good. And I love that right away. Steve is, Dustin, that's so
I was
weird.
just talking about
We're
you.
just talking about you. Which the Fisher Price, like, little set, which, of course, only a children's toy would show a torture scene. There's, like, little beaten up Steve, and on the back of it, it's literally that scene, him going, Dustin, that's so weird. We're just talking about you. And them starting to untie them to rescue them. So,
Yeah.
Team Dustin and Erica, MVP, you paid it forward.
Yes, absolutely. So we cut back, and this is the intense part. As Elle sort of walks into the storm, which is basically like Billy's mind, she sees his dad yelling at him when he was a kid, when he was playing baseball, like, did I raise a pussy? Then you move on to like his dad beating up his mom.
Which a lot of people have seen a mirrored almost scene. It's him, like the mom throwing a plate at the dad. And then you always think back on the fight that he had with Steve, him using the plate against him. So obviously there was a lot of domestic violence and him, like little Billy, trying to come to his mom's aid. It's pretty intense. And like the facial expressions of Millie Bobby Brown, like she looks horrified and honestly like really scared, even though she knows these are just memories. But it's kind of painting a picture on how Billy is now.
Then you see him talking to his mom on the phone, and you can tell that she's basically saying that she's not coming home, which he's
She
very
left him.
stressed about.
Yeah.
And then you move on to him beating up another kid, calling him a
Calling
pussy.
them a pussy, yep.
So you're basically getting that sort of like trauma that made Billy who he is.
Yeah.
You
It
see
even
him
shows
meeting
him meeting a young Max. Yep.
And then finally Elle gets to the steelworks, the Brimborn Steelworks,
Which
and
is like the eye of the storm almost. Because it seems like the storm, the deeper she goes into his memories, the wind is picking up, the lighting changes. It almost looks like the Upside Down with the red. And she reads off the name of the steelworks.
Right, which they look up in the phone book and they're like, okay, come out of it. And she sort of thinks she's coming out of it. She goes reverse through all of those flashes and falls back the other direction. And you see her back in the living room and she takes off the blindfold, opens her eyes, but she's alone. And you realize that they've kind of reversed and Billy is now inside her mind. He's gotten into her head. He says that that he can see her and that they can all see her. And this is really intense, where you start to see all of the people who were flayed kind of walking away in that trance from their like festivities.
And just the music that's playing, like the score, it's like almost like it sounds like this big orchestra, and very epic and very Star Wars-esque kind of almost. And it just shows like a lot of people are flayed, including children. And they're just walking away from like barbecues and 4th of July celebrations. And like a zombie, they're in a trance, not answering their loved ones who are kind of like, what the fuck? And they're
Juju
just walking.
zombies.
Juju zombie. Yep. Oh, look at you bringing it back. And it's just so well done. But I just love that it keeps intercutting to Billy kind of like talking about how they've made this for Elle to basically kill her. And just the acting alone, like, I'm sorry, guys, like, not to give spoilers away, it's Vecna. Basically the way, like, I don't know if like Jamie studied Dacre or whatever, or if they had told Dacre ahead of time, like, this is kind of what we have planned out. But it's almost like the same exact mannerisms, the same exact like tone, the way he's talking to her, almost taunting her, and she's getting more and more upset, screaming, no, crying as he's slowly approaching her. She uses her powers to like throw him into the other room, and that's what snaps her out of it.
Yeah. But then you see all of the people who were flayed showing up at the Brimborn Steelworks, and
they melt.
They become one.
Yeah. Well, look at that title reference. Boom. Yep.
So they're joining into the Mind Flayer, and the Mind Flayer gets like so big that it like busts out of the ceiling of the place.
And just the fact that it goes like dark and just those musical notes up. I butchered that. But it's chills because now something big is coming, something really bad. Shit's getting real.
Yeah. That was and like watching Heather and her mom just like explode like into that goo, like oh, so gross.
So gross.
Yeah, heavy episode.
Yeah, definitely a good episode, but heavy.
Really good, but like the heaviest of season 3, I think.
Oh, 100%.
Lots of really great acting, lots of really great like relationship development. So, whew. So much.
I feel like we need a drink now. We need some vodka. Man.
So we will be continuing with our season 3 deep dives for the next 2 weeks so that we can have the Battle of Starcourt come out on the Battle of Starcourt day.
Can't wait.
Yeah. But, okay, I wanted to fill you in a little bit. So we don't really have any updates on season 5, but just me personally, I'm struggling with like trying to decide what I'm going to do when I watch it, because I went to my cousin's wedding this weekend, and
Mhm.
like my brother's husband and my other brother's girlfriend and I were like talking about like how they were excited for the show to come out, and then I realized like I'm gonna be at Thanksgiving with these people.
You're
And
gonna be insufferable.
if no, like they probably will binge it the night before. So if they've binged it the night before,
Girl, you just
I
gotta
have
binge
to
it.
binge it the
You
night
have
before.
to binge it. Yeah, like we were talking
Because
about this.
otherwise I was gonna be like, okay guys, we can't talk about it if I've only watched the first episode.
I actually had a
like-
friend ask, they go, "Are you doing a viewing party?" And I'm like, no. I want to sit in the dark and I just want to binge it, because the sad thing is I love how you were able to make it last, but I feel like you would have to completely stay offline. Completely.
Yeah.
And then word of mouth, people are going to start talking, but I'm really scared that they're going to like, because I have a feeling that there's going to be a big cliffhanger from the one that's going to air the night before Thanksgiving to Christmas, because that's the longest wait. They're going to either kill somebody or like really harm somebody, and your stomach's going to be in knots. But I think you're going to have to binge it, dude.
I think I'm gonna have to. I realize that because like when it comes out, like other people in my family are gonna be watching it, and if I have to go to Thanksgiving and I
Can
and I
you
have to be
imagine?
like, you're not allowed to talk about it.
You
like
throw
that
the
would
table
be,
over. Yeah. Beat
That would
somebody
be
with the
bad.
turkey.
Which now I'm like, oh, it doesn't come out until 8, which basically means like if they're all an hour, that's gonna be like midnight. But if they're more than an hour, we're gonna be up late the night before Thanksgiving.
Can't wait.
So it is what it is, but I'm sure I'll watch it multiple times that weekend. Like, because if I'm going to binge it, then I'm going to end up like watching it again.
Get
so.
ready for the Stranger Things like squares. Like we're placing bets. It's
Yeah.
going down.
And then Christmas, my brother's girlfriend, she's so sweet. She's like, well, we should have a watch party. And I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah, you're like, no, get
I
out of my face.
I need to watch it by myself.
The fact that they're doing it on Christmas, that was my one thing. I was like, guys.
But also, I texted you, right, about what my brother's girlfriend did at the wedding. So
mine?
she kept bugging the DJ to play End of Beginning.
You know, I love that so much. I really do. Which I had a teacher friend of mine. She came in. She's just such a mom. And she literally went, yeah, I know your show. Your show, Weird Science, is coming back. And I went, Weird Science? Like the John Hughes movie? And she went, what's the name of it? And I go, Stranger Things. And she goes, tomato. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the DJ finally got tired of her and played it. And so we were just like spinning around on the dance floor. So it was wonderful.
I mean, Joe music just makes everything better, you know?
Yeah. So that was my little update of like my dilemma of trying to plan out my viewing of season 5. But at least they're already kind of spacing it out for us. That will make it last a little bit, even if we binge what comes out when it comes out. If that makes sense.
I'm telling you, could you imagine if it all came out at once? Like, I was stressed when this originally aired, summer 2019. I told you guys, I had a barbecue to go to, and I watched like 4 of them beforehand. And then, like, I had the worst time at the barbecue. Apologies to the person throwing the barbecue. But I was like, I need to get back. I need to finish this. And I stayed off my phone. But, yeah, dude. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I'm probably going to continue to talk about how I'm stressed about this all the way up until when it comes out.
It's going to be a journey, guys. Take my hand and let's watch Megan have a breakdown. It's going to be great.
You said you had some merch that you wanted to talk about today.
I do. So I originally, shout out to Tracy, took a picture of this 3D super cool model kit, which is the Creel House. And I will fully admit, I hate puzzles, guys. You know, I hate them. When the pandemic hit, I was not doing puzzles. Any form of puzzles. I'm not good at making models. I'm not good at doing puzzles. I don't know if it's my attention span or I just don't like them. But right away I was like, that looks sick. You know, and I started noticing like our friend Az got one. I think Cinco got one. And I'm like, okay, I have to do it. Super cheap off Amazon. I think it was like under $25. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm on summer break. I was like, this will give me something to do. Oh my God. And like Tracy was like, my daughter did it. Like, you're going to be fine.
You can
and
handle it. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right, let me do this. So I told myself I'm only going to do an hour a day. A, to make it last, and B, not to stress me out. So far, I've only gotten the base down. And it's you would probably be able to assemble it in
I feel
less
like I
than
could
an
probably
hour.
do it in an hour. Yeah.
You would be able to do it super. I literally said out loud, I was like, where's Megan when you need her? Like, it's very like forward, like put A into B. And I was starting to get a little stressed out because, like, it's like you do all the rooms inside the Corral House. It's not just like 4, walls and a roof.
Yeah.
You're
I
doing
might need to get it. It looks really fun.
I think you would love to do it because, like,
Yeah.
there's staircases and banisters. So I'm sweating. I'm sweating like a whore in church. Like, it is not going well. But I told myself an hour a day so I don't get stressed. So I did start that. Exciting. That's my big kind of merch thing. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I do know that I probably have a few things coming my way. But as of right now, that's what I have going on with the whole merch. So
fun.
stay tuned, guys. But I did see that they're slowly starting to like preview some things that might be coming out for this upcoming season, which I'm very excited about because the fact that we're still receiving merch from season 4, from season 3. I mean,
Yeah.
I just went into Bath and Body Works not too long ago and I was like, man, remember that last summer, just all those candles.
That was so fun last summer.
So much fun. So very excited to see what kind of pops and stuff come out. And we will see. But I did take a picture and I'll have to, send another one to Megan. But that is of the Tom and Chuck, a.k.a. Bruce Monster. And it's a Funko Pop that my friend sent me. And it's so gross looking. It's melty and gross.
We need like progress photos of your 3D model thing too.
You're going to be disgusted. You're going to be like, Stacey, that took you an hour. Like, get ready. It's going to end with me throwing it against the wall, crying, being like, Megan, I couldn't do it. So stay tuned, guys.
I'll fix it when I come visit in September.
Yep, exactly. I'm going to need you. Whew. Oh, you know what? I actually got you a surprise.
I did. You did?
Because I know you're going to be going on the another bite tour. So you get a surprise coming your way pretty soon.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Stop buying me shit.
Listen, I'm Santa Claus.
No, that's me. That's what I told Joe Keery.
Yep.
Ugh.
And your tattooed friend was, heckling you.
Yeah, my tattooed friend told me I'm Santa Claus.
Yeah,
That was the best thing I could have said to him.
absolutely. Not awkward at all.
Okay. Well, this was super fun as always. We are excited to continue with our season 3 deep dives, and we've got some more fun things planned for this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, over and out.
Hold on. Hold your horses, lady.
Wait, what else was I supposed to say?
Say the social media. You got to say the social media and then the whole rate us on.
I said that at the beginning though. But okay.
You gave me one job to remind you and I did my job. So, no.
Okay, we're going to start being better about saying this. So as always, you can find us on social media at Skull Rock Broadcast. I'm at Steady Stories. Stacey is at Stay Still Reviews. And please rate or review us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. We would appreciate it. Check out our Patreon. We have bonus content there. And we will talk to you next week. Over and out.
Over and out.
Okay, thank you.
I will be a taskmaster about this.
Eddie, I'm not sure if I love the idea of you driving.
Well, I'm starting to suffer. Harrington's got her. That's your big boy.
We're back.
We're back. This is going to be kind of a short segment because we both kind of touched base.
Yeah.
I haven't been reading anything new.
Well, let me hold on.
You do your thing,
You're
Chick-fil-A.
getting ahead of yourself.
You do your thing.
This is our secret segment.
Cut everything I just said out. You go ahead. Take it away. Go.
Secret study segment where we talk about fan fiction. We know fan fiction is not for everyone. So if you don't really want to hear about Steve and Eddie being boyfriends, then we'll catch you later. If you want to hear what we've been reading, you can feel free to stick around. And what have you been reading, Stacy?
So I am still reading Scorpio Skies. I am just having so much fun with it. It is very intense. Kind of got to some kind of like dark shit that's going on right now. I hate Tommy, hate him. But I just think it's so beautifully written. It's just, I don't know, their work is just poetry in my eyes.
Yeah.
I definitely have a lot to catch up on reading wise. I know that there's some really great steady like summer fics coming out and ones that have been written in the past. I will have to look one up. I'll have to find out the name of it, but there was one where they kind of like right before Nancy and Robin are supposed to go to college, kind of like Steve and Eddie hook up, and it's about them going to the beach and then the carnival. I read that. I will find out the name of the fic and the author. That was cute. That was a nice little one shot. But right now I'm focused on that story. I know it's going to take me a while to finish, but it's kind of just consumed my brain. It's so good.
Yeah. I still am reading Steve and Eddie's Tryst Through Time, I think is what it's called. And I've been like telling everybody who will listen how much I love it. So still enjoying it. Some people have asked me how slow is the slow burn. It is very slow.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, like I usually don't do that to myself unless it's like worth it. So I think it's worth it. I think there's a lot of things about that fic that just really are really good and really well done. So highly recommend because it is a super long one. But I did realize that the author, because I think that author wrote that fic and posted that fic over the course of like 2 years or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So when I started reading it, it was all finished. But like I love their notes at the end of the chapters. And they talked about like writing a couple like smutty one-shots. So I did read one of the smutty one-shots last night, and it was really good. So
have to tell me all
they
about
have
it.
like 2 or 3. I'm not talking about the one that I read.
Oh, girl. Okay. Then you know it's good. Okay.
Usually that means it's a threesome when I say I'm not going to talk about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
But I think they have a couple other smutty one-shots that I'm definitely going to be checking out, and a few like other just like shorter fics that I definitely want to read at some point. But yeah, there's, again, like you said, so much I want to read right now. And I just love when I'm like in like a mood that I like want to read all the time because it's such a good like anxiety reliever for me.
Big time.
So, and sometimes I'm so anxious and like I can't read, but like when something has like hooked me that it's like I can just like kind of turn off my brain for a little while and like really just get lost in the story. And
I'm the same way.
that's like my favorite thing. So super grateful that's where I'm at right now. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love it.
I also realized that a couple of my favorite like podfickers have like some new steady podfics out. So I'm hoping to listen to them soon. Especially because I still do have like, you know, a drive to work over the summer. So I love listening to podfics on like my commute. So I'll report back on those when I start them. Yeah.
Nice. Love that. Yeah, I actually am driving to get a tattoo tomorrow. Stay tuned, guys.
Ooh.
What am I gonna get? Probably everybody could guess. But it's a bit of a hike, so I think maybe I'll listen to a podfic on my way over.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Oh, I guess this comes out Friday. So by Friday, everybody will know what you got, right?
Exactly. Nobody will be surprised. But yeah, I'm Stacy. You know, so.
Have you met her?
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on. Maya Hawke will heckle me some more, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
girl.
it's fine. I mean, you still owe her that tattoo of
I know.
her.
I love that. I'm like, that's the next one. Yeah, hold my beer.
That
Says
was, yeah.
3 or 4
You
other
li-
tattoos.
You lied.
I lied to Maya Hawk. I know. I'm a piece of shit, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold me accountable. If my next tattoo after this one isn't of Robin, come and get me, guys. Come and get me.
Yeah. What Robin would you want to get? Like Scoops Ahoy Robin?
Definitely Scoops Ahoy Robin.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. I hope
Iconic,
you do.
You know?
Yeah. She's beautiful. I would love to have Maya Hawk tattooed on me.
Right? Why not? Gorgeous. Like a siren. Love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note,
Yep.
we'll catch you on the flip side.
Peace out.